Folks, right, welcome back. Now, just going to do another little job today on Hayabusa prep. We're going to press this thing into action to use every day for work, everything I've been saying recently, and this weekend. At last, the day's here. We taxed it today and got a registration we're sorting out, so it's going to get a different registration number and one or two more jobs, two more tasks to do. I've got to do the lift on the bar saddle so that the bar's up a bit, but today is about something else. Now, obviously the tank, you're coming close, Ben. The tank here is absolutely mint and unmarked. It had a big tank pad on here, which was ugly. It's like a big cartoon thing. Had kind of Hayabusa characters on it. Don't like all that rubbish. I just like a black tank pad. Also, tank pads themselves, they're just a little strip there to protect your zip from touching the tank. I don't like those either. I just think they look a bit unnecessary. So what I've always done with black bikes is I use this stuff. So this is your Fablon sign vinyl, the stuff you use for signs. Just ordinary stuff that makes a sign that goes on the side of your van, peeling back, and I just put a piece on there, a piece on each side, and that protects it. Now, obviously that's black, that does the job. If you have a white bike, white. So if you go on eBay, this is where it's a real dodge, and this is a real dodge, I tell you. This little roll here, which when I first bought it, was 12 feet long. It's an offcut. They come in a metre long roll, and the sign guys use them for making decals on vans and stuff. And when they do a long decal or they make a long run of signage, this might be the top piece. So these offcuts you can buy. That's 12 inches by 12 feet long. It's actually only about 5 foot bit left. I use so much of this. I use it on all kinds of things. And I bought this for about £4. Honestly, it's so cheap and it's brilliant stuff. It polishes with wax polish, so if you get like a scuffy mark on it, it just polishes off. It's excellent stuff, and it is, if you look close, come on in, please. It's just about as close as you can get to standard black, straightforward taxi black. There's no metallic to it, no nothing. So whatever colour bike you've got, you can get all colours of this stuff. And it's brilliant, so maybe give that some thought. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a piece for here, just to protect from jackets and buttons. Just going to cut it that wide to start with. I've used a bit of this on the old Harley Iron that I had, just to cover up the matte black mudguard, which was all scuffed. And it looked great. You can heat it with a hairdryer, it goes all stretchy, and I'm sure that if you are into YouTube stuff, whatever, you see these different things. They wrap cars in this stuff now, whole cars. I've seen recently, I've seen 4x4s. I saw a Porsche Cayenne recently and a Range Rover wrapped in matte black vinyl. It lasts about 3 years, apparently, and when it's done, you peel it off and do it again. It's a lot of money. I think to have a vehicle wrapped is a good couple of grand, but how much is a paint job? You've got to look at it like that, and from that point of view, it's a cheap option. So first of all, I've got to cut out a silhouette and then a cup of tea. Now, because it's a bit wiggly.
It's very cold now.
Hey?
It's very cold.
It is. Just going to roll it back on itself so it lays flat. So the simplest way, fortunately the back of this stuff comes with a matrix on it, or some squares. And all you got to do, centre line, measure where you want it to be on the tank, like this. So just measure how far up the tank you want to come. In this instance, 10 inches, and then at that point, how far across. And then take some start measurements, and then you can go 10 inches up, 11 inches across. Use it as centre line. Standard graph paper procedure, really. You've done this in school. You remember this in TD. And then just take some reference points, make one line that's a curve, and to get it the same the other side, use the graph paper exactly where you are, plot it in dots, draw it up. You've got a nice symmetrical shape, ready to go. So let's cut this out. Okay. In the great words of rock and roller, I have a pencil.
Are you allowed sharp scissors?
No. At least if you are, you mustn't run with them. Okay, now there it is, pretty much. Just cut out. Use your graph paper that's on the back to make it symmetrical. Trim the corners round. Actually looks quite smart. You can do it yourself. There you go. A tack pad, right. Now when you mark it, you'll put marks in the vinyl, but as you press it on, it will be okay. Now the simplest way I've always found is just to line it up by eye. It isn't that important. You will get the feel for it. Put the bottom on first, and then it will just lead itself in as you soften it. You kind of need 3 pairs of hands to hold a hairdryer. This is the other thing. Buy your wife a new hairdryer for Christmas and inherit the old one. So that way, you've always got a hairdryer, softens up the vinyl, warms up the surface, especially when it's only about 8 degrees in the garage. So, first things first. Peel the bottom bit off and get it started. The great thing is this stuff costs so little, it really is pennies. If you screw it up, just do another one until you're happy with it, or until you're fed up and you have to say that's good enough. There we go. Right, just fold that bit back so you've got a sticky flap. Once you've got a sticky flap, get started. Why do you always laugh?
I don't. I don't. It's not me.
Right. Now this stuff, if it sticks like that and you don't want it to, don't pull it off gently. If you pull it off slowly, it will grip and you'll stretch the vinyl out of shape. So if it sticks accidentally and you don't want it to, instead of trying to pull it and then stretching it, just whip it quick, because somehow it overcomes the glue and it doesn't all then bugger it up. Now we'll just put the top on. Use the top as a guide to symmetry, and with the bottom being sticky. If the top's symmetrical, that's the only bit that's going to show. There we are. It's about good enough. And I'll stick the bottom in place. You start from the centre like that, and then work outwards in little circles and just push it. You'll see as it puckers up like this, you see it in the light, as it puckers up there, just work on the centre of the pucker and stretch it. It's kind of trial and error. You can't really, there's no how-to on this. You just got to kind of work on it and it will go, because there's a lot of curvature there, great deal of curvature, and that will definitely make it harder to stick. Now when you get that much of it done, come off, pull another bit like that, fold that back so it's out of the way, or cut it off. That gives you a bit more to play with, and then just a little blast. Just to soften it up so it's a bit more giving, and then feeding it in a bit at a time. You should get it bubble free. If you get a bubble trapped, just come off of it. That's it. And just peel it in bit by bit. If it gets a bit stiff and it's not too compliant, again just warm it back up. Because when you really heat this stuff up, it just goes like jelly, all stretchy all over the place. Very easy to work with. Getting there now, idea is just to keep kneading the little bubbles out, stretch it without too much, because obviously it can split if you pull it too much. Helps if you've got 2 pairs of hands, but there you go. Every now and again just warm it back up. Just makes it a bit stretchy again. If you get a bubble, just whip it off and re-massage it in. You're going to get a few, you guarantee are going to get a few. I don't know how those guys wrap cars with all the curves and contours. It must be special vinyl. I understand it's just this stuff, but they must be legends. I could not do a whole car. When you look at all the contours, that is quite a complex, you'll curve one way than the other. But with this sort of effort, you just take about 20 minutes of this. It does work. keep pressing those little creases down, stretch them, press them down, stretch them, press them out, and eventually you'll get there. There we are, finished product. Just a thick layer of vinyl that serves perfectly as a tank pad. You won't get that with a zip. You won't get through it, rather. You won't rip through that with a zip or a button or anything or a buckle. It's as good as it needs to be, and it's almost invisible. With levers and stuff, you sometimes get marks down here on the side of the tank. These sort of side sections sometimes give you issues, and you just have to buff them. So if I do get that in the summer when I wear levers most of the time, I shall put a little bit on the side, but for now that's all you need, just that bit on there. So there it is. Cost absolutely nothing, more or less, relatively nothing. There's a couple of little bits in it, you can kind of just see in the light, there's a couple of little bubbles, there's one there, but on a hot day when they expand, it's a perfect opportunity. Just put a pin in them, rub them out. At the moment they're too hard to get out, and you end up scratching them and then scratching them off, then you've put a rip in it. So there we go, that's it for now. Tank pad, no money. So there you go, 20 minutes. That's pretty much it. Just a quick job tonight. I've just got the tank, done tank pad. I've just got the bar lift now. Just got to lift the bars up an inch with those little slugs. I'll do that tomorrow night. Not a particular rush. Saturday tomorrow, got a few things to do. That will get done tomorrow. But for now, that is one tank pad. Simple as that. Get some sticker vinyl, signed vinyl from eBay. Like I said, that roll cost me about £4. Honestly, 10 years ago. I've had it so long, and it was masses of it. I once had a GPZ 1000 RX, and it had these red lines down the side. It was a black one, as you'd imagine, and it had big red lines right down the side. It just looked a bit sad. So I just cut a strip of it, stuck them over the top, and they looked like a standard factory vinyl decal. Simple as that. In fact, they look exactly the same as a red decal. When I sold the bike, warmed them up, peeled them off, looked like a standard machine. So it's a great way to modify your bike temporarily. I had some Harley badges on the tank once, which I didn't like them. They looked a bit, they had sort of swirls and dragons and eagles and rubbish on. So I just cut a section of that, stuck it over the top, and for the year or so that I had the bike, I just had a completely matte black tank, or a plain black tank, just with no decals on it. When I come to sell it, warm them up, peel them off, job done. So it's a great temporary fix. It's also a good way, if you want to paint your tank or you want to paint your bike all black, it's a way to just experiment and see what it would look like all black. Just cut this stuff out, stick it over the top, make a good job of it, and you can see what it's like in plain black. If you don't like it, peel it off. You haven't spent any money or made any permanent changes. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I appreciate that. T-minus 2 days to Hayabusa. I can't wait. Ride safe. See you next time.